What is going on? You are watching and, of course, listening to Tags Live, aka Talk About Gay Sex, the live edition, where we are here every Wednesday night talking about sex progressiveness, and all that good stuff. This is episode 561, and I am your host, Steve V, alongside Kodi, Maurice, Doggette. How the hell you doing, Kodi?
Hello, darling. I'm here in my negligee, having a beautiful... No, I'm in a tank top. I'm good. How are you, darling?
I'm really good. Back in NYC. Happy to be back after 3 weeks, actually, of doing the show on the road, if you will, in various cities from Oakland to Puerto Vallarta. And it's always good to be back in New York City because when we do the show here, it's at 9 o'clock Eastern time. And, you know, I'm in California, it's 6 o'clock. No matter where you're at, the day is the day, right? When you wake up, you have that many hours before our show. And I have so much. I got done ready for our show so early today because it's 9 o'clock here.
Yeah. You were sending out stuff early in the day. I was like, oh, she's prepared. I love this.
I mean, when the show is 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock in Puerto Vallarta, you got to get your shit together. Today, I was like, wait, I was working on OnlyFans stuff and all this good stuff. Yeah.
I was behind today. I have notes for about half the show. So we're going to see how this goes.
It will go just as it should go. We are in front of a virtual audience and we see you. So say hello, comment. We will get to you all throughout this next hour. Well, we've got to let's start with something fun, Kodi. And it comes from Luke Evans, who is one of our favorite actors, LGBT gay actor out there. I think I can you do this? Because I think I could do it. We just want to play because he was recently on the cover of Men's Health Spain. And it's a 15-second video and then we'll discuss.
Fab.
It's been great. Yeah, lovely team. Great clothes, brilliant location. We've had a really fun day. Actually, it's flown by. Yeah.
Well, that was Luke Evans. Can you hear me, Kodi? You can hear me, right?
Yep, I can hear you. Yes.
Talking about his brand new shoot for Men's Health España edition. And in that issue, you guys got to check it out. He is happy with his quote unquote middle-aged physique. And he also chimes in on those James Bond rumors. Well, we've been talking a lot about, on a recent episode, Kodi, about body dysmorphia within the gay community. And Welsh actor Luke Evans just turned 45 last week. And he addressed this in his Men's Health España cover shoot. The pictures are amazing. I don't know if you had a chance to see all of them, but...
That one in the golden shower. Ooh, yes.
And to use a word that we might be losing, he slayed it. He said, quote unquote, I look at today's photos and I'm happy at 45. I'm already middle-aged. That's when they call it, right? I feel good. I could be better, he says. Evans told the outlet, I look in the mirror and think about training more, drinking less beer, but life is not that simple. He also addressed things like becoming potentially, he knows he might be in the running of the next 007, but he says whoever gets it, what an amazing feat, and he would be awesome. Yeah. He also addressed things like playing straight, because most of his roles have been of the straight persuasion. And he said that, actually he has been looking more for gay characters. He did it with Billy Porter recently, and they did such a great job on that. And so I'm here for him. I think that I love his honesty in this too, on how he addressed that he is middle-aged and he could have a little less beers. I was talking to my friend over the weekend, and when you are of a certain age, shout out to our other podcast, which, by the way, season 2 will debut in the fall of 2024. We are getting those gears rolling again, and we're really excited about it. But things change when you are of a certain age, and I'm here for the fact that he's addressing that. What do you say to Luke Evans, him addressing this being middle-aged physique, how he looks good to himself, but he also thinks he has room for improvement?
He looks good to me too. So, like I said, the golden shower picture is the pinnacle. It's going to be in my spank bank for a little while, and it makes me want a golden shower. So that in and of itself is an achievement. I'm just glad he's out here showing everyone that you can be hot well into your 40s, because that's inspiration for me. And I feel like he's really hitting his stride, like now, especially because I've known about him for such a long time, but I feel like he's becoming more and more prevalent as he gets older. And I think that's an amazing thing. And it should be something that motivates us all to be better and to reach for those stars even well into our 40s, because it's not over. It's time to get out there and do the things that make you happy and just achieve your dreams, no matter what age you are.
Yeah, I feel like we're at this pinnacle coming to it right now, where LGBTQ personas, people, we are embracing ourselves. We are living longer. Science, everyone is showing that. But then our community is showing that you can really be yourself. You can live longer. 50 used to be the golden age. Now 60 is the age, and people are living way into their 80s, 90s, 100s. And Luke is definitely an example of that. He is launching that brand new underwear brand, BDXY, which looks so sexy. We want to get a rep. We would love to get Luke on the show, but we'll take a rep for the show.
Call us, Luke.
Yeah, absolutely. So stay tuned this summer, because we're going to have this late spring summer. We're going to have a lot of special guests coming up on Tags Live. You don't want to miss it. And we are live in front of a virtual audience, so we want to hear from you, as well as commentaries from people that write into us. And recently, Jules wrote into us on Twitter, and Jules has written into us before. Jules J Official. He has an OnlyFans site, and you might want to check out. It's pretty hot. He said, "Hi, Stevie. Just recently got on Mistr, my prep provider, and he wanted to let us know that they are starting Doxypep as well, as he's renewing his 3-month prep prescription. I'm not sure how many pills will be prescribed yet, but this is great news, as he knows that we have frequently reported on the high rates of STDs in this country, and he just wanted to pass on that information to us. So thank you, Jules, for that, because yes, I think I, in particular, came back from a 3-week trip and have been collaborating on some content, adult content, for my OnlyFans Just for Fans. And I just had to get my prep renewed to get for the next 3 months, and had to have all my HIV STIs checked out. Before we got here live, I just saw the bio. I think it's called the one that gives you the bio chemistry. It's the actual thing that gives you your results, and my results came BioReference Laboratories. Okay. I got, and all of mine came back negative for all of them, and I'm happy to report to all of my community here, because you all are my community, and it's so important to get checked out. We're going to be talking more about this stuff on this episode and beyond, but Kodi, great response from Jules, right? Letting us know about Mistr.
Oh yeah, that's something that I'm definitely going to look into, because Doxypep it's going to be a game changer as far as curbing these STDs is concerned. So I really encourage everybody to not abuse it, but to make sure it's a resource out there that you are taking part in, because we definitely do not want to spread any type of STDs out there. We want to be as responsible and respectful as possible.
Absolutely, well stated. All right, let's get into a slew of hot topics, and I mean slew, and we're going to get into them. So much to talk about, because we really want to get to all of these topics, starting with Grindr, who, it's so funny, Kodi, because we've been talking about Grindr. Grindr is the largest app, if you will, for finding sex relationships in general for our community. And I feel like we're always talking about the highs and lows of Grindr. Recently, we talked about the AI boyfriends that they're creating, which we weren't really a fan of, that you might even have to pay for. But then last week, we were talking about their new feature that I might want to use when you're going to a foreign country called Roam, meaning you could, ahead of schedule, knowing like I'm going to Lisbon in a month, I could turn on the Roam ROAM feature and look for guys in that community and actually set up a hookup, which I'm all for. Well, now they're back on the decline because Grindr or a collab.
That's right.
Believe me, I'm on it. Grindr is being sued in the UK for sharing users' HIV data with ad firms. And this story was going everywhere. Grindr was sued by users for sharing things like sensitive personal information, including their HIV status, with advertisements and companies in the London lawsuit. And the LGBTQ app allegedly shared information to third parties for commercial purposes without the user's consent, which included data on ethnicity, sexual orientation, HIV test dates, according to the law firm Austin Hayes, which actually filed the claim at the High Court on Monday. Well, they said it's the largest social networking app that we know of, but the law firm filed the class action style claim on behalf of potentially hundreds of users, and they say the data breach happened mainly before April of 2018 and between May of 2018 and April 2020, and included two ad tech companies, Local Analytics and Epitomize, as the two that were cited. I mean, this isn't really surprising to me that Grindr has been sharing our content, because as we've learned before, the hands of the CEO has changed. I mean, does this surprise you? But does it really surprise you when you learn that our HIV status could potentially be in the hands? I mean, I think they should be suing.
Definitely. That is wild. That is such a breach of trust and of the sensitive information that we entrust to Grindr. This is just unconscionable. But don't ask me to spell unconscionable. I won't be able to do it, because Grindr definitely owes these people restitution. I can spell that. But I don't know if it's going to be equivalent to losing faith in the. Honestly, the HIV stigma hasn't gone anywhere in the past. It's making slow evolution towards not being a thing. But right now, the stigma is still very heavy, and losing that potential information out there into the world, no matter who it's to, if it's to a company or if it's to a next door neighbor, I don't know if you can come back from that, because I think that this is something that could very much harm the people out there that are living with HIV, and I think that they owe them something, because this is something that you do not do. Your doctor can't even share any information about you. So why does Grindr think that they are able to share this information?
Yeah, it's almost like, on the one hand, we were saying the other day, you in Kansas on episode 560 can't even access now, because it's made into law, LGBTQ content, not just porn, but LGBTQ content as well as porn. And then on the other hand, an app that's supposed to be representing our community is actually giving away, TMI, more information about us, personal, private information about us on the other end. It's like, my goodness, right now, it's a great time to be gay. It's a great time to explore your sexuality, and it's also a detrimental time, mostly because of the internet, I would say, because we still don't know what we're doing with all this stuff. And believe it or not, it's still new in so many phases. So, yeah. Somebody spelled unconscionable for you. I love it.
I can read it. That is perfectly fine. Also, one more point. It makes me really wonder if that's happening here, because it leads me to believe that it's happening here. If it can happen there, it can happen anywhere. I bet you it's happening in several countries. So we all need to be on the lookout or
we could get into TikTok, Congress wanting to get rid of it. We don't have time for that. But yes, it's all up in the ethosphere. Speaking of Congress, George Santos, and it might be the end of our time ending our conversation with George Santos, because we all know Katara, as you and Teddy, host Teddy, have loved to talk about. And at one point when he was gone from Congress, voted out, and then he started his whole cameo where people were giving him hundreds of dollars actually to give messages out. Well, then George Santos actually said that he was going to be re-running for Congress, I think in a different district actually. Yeah. Well, he apparently didn't raise any money, and Cameo didn't choose to support his new bid for Congress, and he is officially out of Congress. What do you have to say before we move on?
Well, Lady Katara is going to stunt, and I do not think this is the end of her, because she's going to find a way to get back into the zeitgeist, because she always wants all the attention to be on her. So I can't understand how she's going to be out of the media. And she's also going to lie about why. She's going to spin it towards everything being in her favor, because she said that the reason that she's dropping out of the race is because she doesn't want to split the ticket and give the voting race to the Democratic person. But in actuality, this bitch didn't raise no money. She is broke. So of course she has her pocketbook is empty. So she has to drop out of the race. And
talk about stretching your 15 minutes of fame to all it's worth to Cameo and all that, and ultimately falling flat on your ass. I mean, yeah, sorry. Moving on to actually a good thing in Dominica, and I'm sorry for my lack there of geography. When I heard this story, and a friend of the show sent it to us, thank you, Sinfully, I thought Dominica was the Dominican Republic. Both are located in the Caribbean. Dominica is actually an island in the Caribbean, whereas of a population of like 75,000, Dominican Republic has over 11 million population, and is not an island, but it is a nation. So just to get you that, if you didn't know like I did, if you did, don't come for me, but we just wanted to get it straight. We had a whole thing in our meeting earlier today. Well, let's get to the hot topic. Dominica's High Court overturned a ban on same-sex relations. This is good news, because the court ruled parts of the law that criminalize same-sex activity went against the country's constitution. And a gay man living in Dominica who brought the case said the law violated his constitutional rights. And activists welcomed the decision, hailing it as a significant milestone in the ongoing struggle for LGBTQ rights in the Caribbean. And Kodi, if you've ever been to the Caribbean, it's beautiful. It's just the water, everything. Yeah. Sometimes I think we forget, though, that not all of the Caribbean, a lot of them are owned by different countries. It is not, it's seemingly like paradise, but they're not always welcoming to our community, especially gay sex. And and these are things that we need to know about when we're traveling to these parts, because you can still travel to these parts, as we talked about on Of a Certain Age, but you need to know at least what you're getting into. I need to know when I'm walking down the street these days, here even in New York, what's the law of the land? Because while I believe in freedom, I need to know that I'm not breaking a rule or essentially provoking somebody to call a law on me. And so when you hear this, what do you think about Dominica and not Dominican Republic and what they overturned?
I think this is long overdue, of course, because it really shocked me that this was happening in 2024, that this law was still in effect. And I'm just happy that it is overturned, but I know that they have a long way to go, as we all do. So we all should be fighting the good fight.
Great.
And I'm really used to going to Puerto Rico and having, a lot of freedoms there, because the scene in Puerto Rico is very good.
Absolutely. Weren't we saying that we need to do like a whole field trip to Puerto Rico soon, and with co-host Teddy Alexis. I mean, come on.
Let's do it.
Let
Let's
us do
take him. He
it.
is full Puerto Rican, as he points out that I'm only half. So,
Oh my God. Well, you guys can debate that. Staying on politics, of course. The government, according to Representative Ritchie Torres, failed on Mpox in a new bill that addresses that. And a new report highlights the significant flaws in the federal handling of the Mpox outbreak. Remember, it was monkeypox, emphasizing the need for a more unified response system to tackle future public health emergencies. And this is interesting, Kodi, because he's actually drawing up a new bill that would address this, because he said that it took too long for the response. We didn't know any better at the time, though. I think it was actually quite quick. If you remember, you and your boyfriend at the time got your vaccination. I got mine. I thought we culminated really quickly, but Ritchie Torres is on the front lines of all this. He's also gay and one of the first openly African-American representatives to be elected, which is really good to hear. And he's looking out for us. Because they're saying that there could be future outbreaks of this, including this summer. And he also is addressing the pandemic as well. That I would totally agree with, the lack thereof of response. He also says, as a Black man, as a person of color, because he's Afro-Latino, Kodi, that he says that while maybe there were responses to the Mpox vaccination, but it didn't trickle down to people of color and the people of color of our LGBTQ community. And that I would agree with, as we were talking about stories like this. And so what do you say when you hear about what Representative Ritchie Torres is doing for future outbreaks? And he's kind of looking out for our community.
Oh, definitely. I feel like this is such a great thing. I think that Ritchie really has his thumb on the pulse of all that is going on as far as these outbreaks are concerned. And he's being really proactive, which is such an amazing thing. It is something that's going to benefit us in the long run. And I really can't wait, because like you, I thought that the Mpox response was actually effective. They were warning people were standing in those long lines to get their vaccinations. So I think that with more practice and preparation, I feel like this is something that could even go, I don't want it to go smoother because I don't want it to happen ever, but I think that if it does happen, then this is something that we should be prepared for.
Great. Yes, I absolutely agree with that. And absolutely. And lastly, if you remember, we were talking about, this is our Dateline segment now that we're doing, Dateline tags, as we're calling it. Last week, if you listened to the show, we were talking about the, remember Sean Kodi model, Jordan Joplin, who murdered Eric Garcia? Apparently they were married, and he senselessly murdered, his husband, Eric Garcia. And he is now serving lifetime, of course, as he should. Well, this week in our Dateline tags, there is a 45 years, the guy that was in prison for 45 years in prison for murdering 5 gay men is actually being let out. He actually is already out. A serial killer who targeted gay men was released from prison just last week. His name is Warren Harris Jr. He's now 62. He was awarded parole after just 45 years in prison following the brutal slayings that left 5 gay men dead in 1977. And Harris did this in that whole year. He hated gay men and had it out for them. Apparently, he also, I was deep diving into this story, Kodi, and I think he actually had sex with them, some of them.
Yeah,
he was
that's what
intimate with them. And so it's like, I wonder now, after being in prison for 45 years, he was 17 at the time, but was he just repressed and hiding, angry with gay men in 1977 that he just went out on a slew? But it's like these families. I mean, the death of 5 gay men, and let me read their names because may they rest in power and may their families actually, we're looking out for their families because they can't be happy with this news. Robert Gary was 47 at the time in 1977. James McClure, 32. Jack Savell, 38. Eldon D. Delana was 59 at the time. And Ernest Palmiere was 77. All of those are gone. And I just can't help but think, their families, what they must think of this ruling. And I mean, Kodi, why is it that he's let free? I mean, we were talking about this in our meeting now. I get it now, looking at people that have been convicted of marijuana, that now marijuana is legal in states. Okay, let's look at that now and maybe change their outcome and their sentencing, because if it's legal now, why did we sentence these people, and why are we crowding up the jail system when it's now legal? And this just seems unnecessary. But if you murdered 5 people, should you be getting out on parole?
No, absolutely not. Even if you're 17 and I can't even excuse killing one person, but when you kill 5 people and it's premeditated and it's something that you have absolutely thought about and come to the conclusion that this is something that you should do, at 17, you know the difference between right and wrong. And you know that killing somebody could potentially land you in jail. He should not be out by any stretch of the imagination. And you know that the reason that he did all of this, personally, I feel like the reason is because he has some internalized homophobia, and he was acting out all of that rage and pent up frustration into actually taking it out on these men. And it's such a sad thing. And hopefully he went through some therapy in jail, but he still made that decision, and he should still have to suffer the repercussions. I'm not a big fan of throwing Black people in jail, but in this instance, in this case, when you kill people, then I wash my hands. I can't do anything about it. I understand what your point was about the marijuana, because it's so prevalent now, and people are walking down the street smoking marijuana. They're doing all the things as far as marijuana is concerned. So yes, all of those things should be overturned. All of those sentencing should be overturned. And I feel like the reason that he's out of jail is because they took so many people to jail with the marijuana charges and things of that nature, and the jails are overcrowded.
Let them go and don't let this person go. This is something where you took not 1 but 5 innocent lives, and in my mind, it should be death penalty, because you took 1, it's 1 for 1, and now it's 5 lives later that had to cut their lives in half short, and you managed to live in jail, and now you're 60. We just said 60 is practically the new 40. He's 62 or 65, whatever he is. He's like, and now he gets to live his life free, while those 5 people didn't, because he murdered them senselessly. It's like, no, you don't get to do that. He shouldn't even be living, in my mind. He should have had the death penalty immediately the first time he killed the first person. Now it's like we're giving him parole. It's like, fuck that. No, he should have been murdered like them, and like really shown like, no.
I agree. I totally agree with you. Somebody that I'm really close with went to jail for marijuana, and they are still suffering the consequences and the repercussions of that. They're still on parole to this day. They got let out. They made them serve their entire time. It's completely irrational. There's no reason that something like that should go punish this long, and then this guy gets out for killing 5 people. It's ridiculous to me.
And also, the judge said, "Oh, we're going to have we're going to have our eye on you." It's like, and he was known as the New Orleans murderer for these 5 sadly victims, and it's like, are you going to go back there? I would be actually a little bit like, is it going to be too late before we have our eye on him, before he decides to do this again? It's like, no, it's disgusting that they're letting him go. And no, that's wrong.
Yeah.
And yeah. Yeah, it fired me up a lot. Thank you, Bryce. He says, I agree with Stevie. I don't like murder, but an eye for an eye. Yeah, 5 victims. You know, you don't get to live your life now in your 60s, which we now know is like vibrant. You can still live a great life. Well, these 5 people that you senselessly murdered are not able to do that. You don't.
Yeah.
Karma will come. Sorry. Okay. Moving on to, I'm a little fired up with that one, but okay, we're moving into fun stuff actually, because
the dateline of it all. Oh my goodness.
The dateline of it all. Don't get me started. I know. I think this was where we were going to go into. Yes. Okay. This next segment is called Our Allies. We're quickly going through this because recently it was actually a, or were we doing that story? We're doing the cups first, right?
Okay. Yep.
Okay, I think we're doing the cups first. Okay, this naughty meme, I don't think it's that naughty, about tops and bottom, has gay Twitter all divided. Essentially, you go to a party, and a lot of gays are doing this, and somebody decided to put this on their post, where you go to a party, and they've got the rainbow assortment of those cups, you know? First of all, I won't go to any party that has those red cups like I'm at a frat party. My sister will back me up on this. She says, absolutely not. When I'm doing a party, she says, do not get those red cups. We are not in a frat. And I agree. If anything, get the plastic, clear, smaller cups because you don't want everyone to overdrink. That's my method to this madness. But people are doing the rainbow cups and they're putting, like, labeling them. If you walk in there, you pick up the cup that's associated with your position in bed. And it's divided a lot of people because they're like, oh my gosh, we're going right there. And they're like, yeah, red is equal to dom top. Orange is just a top. Yellow is associated with verse top. Green is verse. Purple, verse bottom. And blue, bottom. The problem I had with this, Kodi, is while it's all in fun, what about our sides, as we talk a lot about on this show?
Oh.
Not everybody is willing to top or bottom. And where's the color for sides? We talk a lot about it on this show, aside from the fact that these are awful cups that should never be at a party at all. It also reminds me of the dog collar parties that are often popular on gay cruises, where it's the red, yellow, and green party where you put a sticker on your dog tag. If you're green, you're single. If you're yellow, you're kind of in the middle and you're sussing it out. And if you're red, you are off the market because you're in a relationship. And my friend Will of Tantric Fitness said that he thought that the red was too alarming. Like if you see somebody red, you're like, oh my God, I don't even want to look there. It's a sensorial response. And I kind of agree with them. It's a little jarring to see that red. Are we making everything a little too... Am I being a little too serious about this? Or what's your thoughts on this?
Sister.
That's our new thing.
That's our new thing. I love it. I think that this
yes, sister.
You're doing so well, too. I think that this is a fun party game. And if I was, especially at a sex party, I think this would be something that would break the ice between people. You can kind of gravitate towards the people that you could potentially hook up with in the evening. And I think that it's a smashing idea. It's fun. Hopefully it doesn't mean any harm. I do agree that there should probably be some sides cups. I mean, we can always add a color. They're all primary colors.
Let's add a color.
Let's add a color, honey. Okay. But I do not agree with you about the red in the dog tag parties, because when they're normally attributed to people that are in a relationship, and it means like, stop, I'm not interested in having any type of sexual relations with you because I'm in a monogamous relationship.
But just see how you just said that. Stop. I'm not interested in having any sexual. It's very jarring. It's like, okay, we get it. I'm not interested. Maybe I'm not interested in you either. And it's like, but it's so like, when you see stuff, you're like, oh my gosh, it's a red light. And why do we have to put that on our status so that somebody sees that? And he said there is a visceral response to when you
I
see the
agree.
color red like that. It's like, oh.
No, I agree with you. And I think that,
Sister.
sister, I do think that it's something that would benefit somebody in a relationship, because I feel like if it was another color, let's say it was green, yellow, and blue, I wouldn't necessarily know, or I wouldn't have that response of it's time for me to stop. If it was a blue cup, I would be like, oh, maybe they're kind of into, I don't know. I think that it's something that red definitely does stop mistakes from happening. And I'm all about not having a mistake in a relationship.
Yeah, to me, these are too much label parties. The dog tag parties, I've never really been a fan of, because sometimes I feel one way and then the next minute I'm another way, and I'm fluid and I'm all over the place. And I just think like it's getting people away from actually having conversations, because I think you could actually have a conversation with a couple. Like, his point was, if you walked up to somebody that had the red, you immediately like, oh, turn the other way. But you could also, if you didn't have that system, you could want to go up to them in general to talk to them, not to sleep with them. It's just this barrier that puts up immediately. And actually, it's like, why can't we just get to know people and then find out, okay, oh, you're in this relationship, that's great. And instead of these roadblocks that like, now I won't even talk to you because I saw the red, I'm single, and I'm averting immediately, when I could have talked to you. I know a lot of couples that I have wonderful conversations with and enjoy hanging out with, and we're not sleeping together, but that redness is just such an aversion, and it's so harsh, and it's just, I think we simplify it with these little games. And I get it, this is like a fun thing, but if you're going to do the fun thing, then put on things like side too, and put everywhere, because you're going to need to explain yourself. I don't know. I think I did a better party back in the day. I used to do my XXXmas party, and people just had to figure it out. It wasn't like these silly cups that are from the fraternity. Yeah, no.
They did figure it out.
I had martini glasses, and they weren't red cups or blue.
Well,
or whatever.
hello. Oh, yeah. But, okay, I see what you're saying, sister. But I do think that that makes it even more the couple's job to go out and talk to people. And because, like you said, red is very jarring, and it would deter me from talking to somebody with a red cup, especially in these instances where hooking up is the predominant thing at this party. That's how I feel, because even at the dog tag party, I think that you go there with the goal of being with all gay men, and of course you want to hook up with a lot of them. So I do think that the red is not necessary. Maybe we can pick a nice fuchsia. Maybe that is a nice compromise.
Love it.
And I think that it would still let people know that you're taken, but not as harshly as you guys were saying. So
Doug, watching us live, says that seems a lot like the old hanky code in some ways, and I agree with you. The hanky code, though, was a thing that you just did on your own when you went to like a BDSM bar and you wore that hanky. I often play around with that, and I think that was, you just did it. And if you knew the hanky code, you were like, okay, this is sort of forcing it on a party with bad plastic cups from, dare I say, Party City. I can't believe I even know that store. I hate that store. But anyways, you won't find those cups at my party. You might find more interesting.
I'm bringing them next time. I'm bringing them cups to your party.
And the doorman will not let you in, sister. Moving on. Let's do these quick topics because they're kind of fun, because this next segment is called Our Allies, and we love our allies when they're in the right mix, and when we let them in, when we tell our doorman to let them in. This next one, homophobes are big mad at this straight EDM DJ performing at a pride event. I'm talking about John Summit. listeners of EDM already know John Summit. He's super cute, actually, and he has a lot of gay fans. Well, Summit is the popular DJ. He's from Illinois, and he's been active on the scene since 2017. Well, he is played Coachella this year and is getting ready for what's sure to be an energy-filled party with a performance at the Dreamland event here in New York City at Central Park during Pride Month. Well, he posted that on his social media, and he got a lot of hate from some of his followers. Keith Straight, remember, he said, lost a few hundred followers since I announced I'm playing Gay Pride Party, laughing my ass off. Peace out, you insecure homophobes, he said. Summit wrote in a recent post on X after being announced as a guest at the Dreamland event. I don't care what you think, he said. You cannot deny that the gays know how to fucking party. I am here for that, Kodi, and he's really cute too. So good for him. He's not afraid of losing a few followers.
I mean, he's going to be doing the most at Pride in New York City. So I'm glad he's there to have a good time. I'm glad that he's supporting us. And because a lot of people buckle under this type of pressure, and the real allies will stand up for us in the face of this adversity. I'm talking with my hands a lot. In the face of this adversity, and
Keep going, sister.
Advocate for us, sister, and they will just be on the front lines with us, because that's what allies really do. They are there to use their privilege in order to allow us into spaces and to protect, kind of stand in front of the things that are supposed to harm us. So I'm so glad that he's there and he is out here fighting the good fight for us. So thank you so much, you cutie.
Yeah, it's almost like to be an ally, you sometimes might be faced with something and you don't know what the right thing to do is, and just always go for the people, I think, you know what I mean? And he's doing that. And Katy Perry, on the other hand, is facing fierce backlash from our community after thanking, of all people, Elon Musk for her new Cybertruck. Have you seen that new Cybertruck that he's sending off to Kim Kardashian and a lot of other people? It's this archaic looking mobile. It's awful. It's just awful. And she posted with a leather dress, heels in front of it, and she said, thanks for the delivery at Elon Musk, #idol, because she had her paycheck, right? She's been calling out because Elon Musk, of course, hasn't really supported the trans community. He hasn't supported our LGBTQ rights. And by the way, that car, whatever you want to call it, that he sent her has a 4,000 recall because the actual gas pedal is like acting out. And it's like, do you really want this car when 4,000 of them have been recalled by Tesla due to having accelerator pedals that stick when pressed down? In this picture, she has the highest 3-4 inch heels on. How's she going to be stopping this when is she really going to be thanking Elon Musk? And she's about to release a brand new album, Kodi, and the gays are not having it with her. What do you think about this? And I mean, what's going on with Katy?
Well, Katy has been a proponent of showing that she doesn't support the gays that do her hair, do her makeup, do all of in that picture that the gays slayed her down, and she's out here not supporting us and not doing the things that she wouldn't have a career if it wasn't for LGBTQ plus people. Her first song was I Kissed a Girl and I Liked It. Okay, that was her very first single. She is out here turning her back on the people that made her famous, and I think it's atrocious. I think that she is opportunist, and I feel like she does not have the best interests of the people in mind. I feel like she's out there to make herself richer and to support people that will make her richer. So I think she's disgusting. Said what I said.
Love it. You
Said it
said
with
it
my chest.
so well. Let's stay on allies because Jake Shears of Scissor Sisters, right? He's
Love
got
him.
this popular podcast called Queer the Music, where he interviews all kinds of queer musicians or musicians that had an effect on our community. And he's had people like Andy Bell of Erasure on there, and
Ooh.
Ollie Alexander of Years and Years, Peaches and Rufus Wainwright, and among others. Well, who he recently had on was St. Vincent. St. Vincent actually it goes by the name Annie Clark, and she had a song back in 2018 called Fast. She had an original song called Slow Disco. And in 2018, she decided to revamp it and make it a little bit faster called Fast Slow Disco. And when she did it, she made a video for the new revamped version. And it was actually an homage to Madonna, she said. And she says this in the interview. And in the video, she's surrounded by all of these really hot, leather-clad BDSM gay men who are all getting it on as she sings this music song. And at one point, she tells a story where she was in like stilettos, and she said, I swear I stood on somebody's balls, and they were like, it's okay. And she said
it's okay.
it was okay. And she said that they were literally having sex in this music video. So you want to check out this video for sure. But she goes on in this interview to say her love of the community and her love of Madonna and why that was a tribute to Madonna. And she said, she learned a lot when she was growing up. She's a little bit younger than me, but we're about the same age. She says growing up in the 80s, she goes on to say that Madonna was truly everything. She's 41, but she shared that one of the things that really got me at the show, this recent show, the Celebration tour, the tour that keeps on giving, was the Live to Tell section. And she said she was weeping. Well, I said I was weeping in it too, because it's an homage to all the people that Madonna has lost or the world has lost to AIDS. And during Live to Tell is when Madonna pays tribute, like I said, to friends. St. Vincent continued to praise Madonna. She said, even the sex book, where you go, okay, she's the biggest pop star in the world. And it was the 90s, y'all. And the world, and she was genuinely posing in sexy, deeply erotic situations with gay men who have AIDS, and what that did, what that meant, how powerful that actually was. It wasn't a little tip of the hat. She actually helped a whole lot of people. She said so it helped her with her sexuality as a straight woman. And she said in 2024, I don't think we need a straight person as a spokesperson for gayness like Madonna. She added, but I didn't realize how much my ideas of sexuality were very much informed by 80s Madonna. And the question is posed to you, Kodi, because I, like St. Vincent, also was for the sex book, Madonna, the sexuality, to be out and proud was really by Madonna. I mean, my sexuality, why I am here today, I've said before, I got a paycheck working for Madonna twice, and that was like the end all be all for me. But I literally became who I was looking up to Madonna. I'm looking at a picture of Madonna as an homage in front of me. Who for you, if anybody, was kind of your inspiration when we didn't have a lot of role models for our sexuality?
Well, it definitely wasn't Katy Perry.
Thank you, sister.
Thank you, sister. Actually, Bryce says he thinks that Katy Perry should use her money to learn how to sing well. And I totally agree with that. As far as my sexual awakening is concerned, I feel like George Michael awoke my sexuality, especially with the Faith video when he's shaking his butt and playing the guitar. And
I want your sex.
I want your sex. It was so good. So I was pretty young then. So I feel like seeing that and not being able to reconcile while I was feeling those feelings was, looking back, it was kind of my awakening, basically. Now, coming into my sexuality, was all Janet Jackson because, baby, let me tell you, the Velvet Rope got me through some very, very interesting nights. She was doing her thing. With Janet, she was doing her thing. Even we were talking about Rhythm Nation. Love Will Never Do was like the perfect transition from Rhythm Nation to the Janet album, and where she was exploring more of her sensual side. And then she went hog wild on the Velvet Rope. She was like talking about rope burn. I was like, girl, she was talking about having a girl eat her out and all of these things. And I said, I am living for all of this. That was when I was starting to come out, when the Velvet Rope came out. So Janet Jackson all day, every day for me. And if I was your girl, the things I would do to you. It was fantastic. I could listen to that album now, no skips, and on repeat.
And it's just a beautiful time now, because we, at the top of the show, we're talking about Luke Evans, who has a whole underwear line and who is on the cover of Spain's Men's Health and is considered for 007. So we are in different times now where you can have all kinds, all the queens from RuPaul Drag Race. It's a different time. We didn't have them then. St. Vincent is recalling that period, even as I'm assuming she's a straight woman saying this, that Madonna was responsible for her sexuality at the early years. And so it's a great look at time past and history of our sexuality and pop culture on what influenced us. And Madonna says that hers was David Bowie. She says it in the tour, and David because he was so androgynous and he was unapologetic, but he was, of course, was a man. And he
was so sexy still. Even androgynous, it really worked for him.
Yeah. So love it. Any comments that we want to read before I move on to our next story? Or no?
I think we're good. I think we're updated.
Okay. We've got a lot to cover here. Do we want to go to advice, or do we want to go to nude or not to nude?
Let's do some advice first, and then if we have time,
I'm going to let you pick, though.
Oh, let's pick
and read.
Perfect.
Thank you, sister.
You're welcome, sister. Let's do the first one, the first Reddit. So this Reddit is, would you still talk to a guy who basically is saying you're only friends with benefits material? The question goes, this guy was chatting me up on Scruff, and he clearly stated in his profile he was looking for dates and ultimately a relationship. We started off talking about hooking up, then we exchanged pics, and it turned more into us going out on a date and seeing if it progresses from there. It seemed like our conversation was going well. Then he suddenly says that he's looking for more of a friends with benefits situation instead, like a day later. Maybe the original poster is being too sensitive, but I almost took it as him backtracking, and I'm only good enough for it to be a friends with benefits. Am I overreacting? And I kind of want to tell him that they're not interested anymore. What do you think, Steve? Do you think that you would be okay with this?
I think he's a little bit overreacting, and I've been very guilty of overreacting with responses. And when somebody doesn't respond the way I want them to respond, so I'm going to just use my own. I can think of recent. I've grown a lot in the last years, but one of the things that I'm working on more is to not react so much based on, like, my sister and I talked about this on we were together for 2 weeks, and one of the things we're really good at is communicating our feelings, communicating where we're at, communicating time, place, and all of those things. Well, guess what? Not everybody is on the same page with that. And we don't need to get mad at everybody that is not exactly on that same. Well, we are very good with communication. Not everybody is. And what I've learned is that it doesn't mean that someone's not interested just because they don't react or communicate when and how you want them to. And so while I hear him and somebody putting you into a seemingly box of friends with benefits after you thought they said they were into it. It's so new in the game with this thing. They barely went out once. So I say give them another chance because it's so new. And also don't be so quick to, oh, forget it and all that, because don't let your feelings get so involved so early on, which is the lessons that I have learned, which is what I have done in the past. And I am now in a place where it's like, if you don't respond the way I thought you wanted, that I wanted you to, you know what? I'm going to rework it. If you still don't 2 and 3 times later, I might move on, but I'm not going to be angry because you are who you are. And I'm not going to force you to like me.
Oh, no, I totally agree with you on the fact that this person is overreacting. I think that when you're on a first date, then you to be planning the wedding is a little bit of a stretch, honey. Okay, calm down, pump the brakes. If you're not interested in a friends with benefits situation, then you need to communicate to that person that you're not interested in a friends with benefits situation. But if you are, have fun, enjoy life. That's what this is all about, because at the end of the day, this person, you never know what you could have with this person. So you think that you think that just because it starts out as a friends with benefits situation that it can evolve or grow into more, and you don't know what the future holds. So I say hold out if you are willing to be okay with a friends with benefits situation, because if it doesn't evolve into something and you're holding out for that, then you're just going to get disappointed at the end of the day. But I hear what you're saying as far as being a good communicator. I think that me being a good communicator, I kind of hold that against other people, and I think that they should be on my level. So I hear what you're saying, and I really accept it, sister, because I think that it's something that I still have to learn. And I know that people are growing, and I understand that not everybody has the capability of sharing their emotions. So I love that you put that into your what you said as far as this is concerned.
I say that because it's somebody in my current ethosphere that I'm interested in that doesn't necessarily communicate the way I do. And of course, I've gotten back from a trip from 3 weeks, and everybody thinks I was on vacation. Well, I wasn't. It was fun, but we were working the whole time, and nobody ever seems to understand that. And people forget about you if you've been gone for a certain period of time. And when I've communicated to somebody and it's like, well, they responded, it wasn't as strong. And I get it. I totally get it. But I just think, you got to hang in there, and you can't I'm learning to let my guard down about my immediate emotions, which used to be so fired up when somebody looked at me a certain way. And it's a blessing to not be so fired up and reactive now, and to really just let it sit, take a beat, and then go from there. And I say that with 53 years of experience. And so it took a minute, and I'm still working through that. But so that's all I would offer to that. And I love it.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you so much. You helping me right now. So I really appreciate you.
Oh my goodness.
Bryce says there is power in rejection because it tells us the other person isn't worth our time. And I think that is a valid something to explore. And I think that's very, very valid. I won't read the next thing that they said because I don't want to incriminate anybody. So
I love it.
Yeah.
We probably would do straight up gay porn thirst trap this. You want to do it? Okay, we should do it. I was gonna nix it, but that's what I was gonna get out of my life. Sister will do it. Okay, there it is for you guys watching us live, and it's our job on Straight Up Gay Porns to vividly describe on a podcast who we choose and why. And we have to vividly describe out of these 13 gay porn stars who took the best photo this past week. Well, this to me wasn't the strongest week as we've seen.
That's why you wanted to skip it.
That's why I wanted to skip it. But there were some standouts. I have to say, you know, Jeffrey Weiss is showing some poppin' veins and some poppin' dick. That's really lovely. I love Austin Wolf and who he's with, Daniel Knight, Knight. They're looking delicious with Austin sitting back looking yummy and Daniel Knight basically legs over him, showing his hole on top of him. That's a really fun picture. That might get my favorite pick. Um, but I think the one I'm going to go for, because I share the name Poppy, I'm Sexy Poppy Steve V. And don't get mad at me just because I share that on this show. We recently got somebody on Apple Podcasts saying it's become all about the host talking about his OnlyFans. It's like, oh, here we go. It's like, we're a sex podcast. I get to talk about my sex proclivities on my adult content page once in a while. So
it's context.
Yeah. And I'm not going to stop doing it. So anyways, Johnson Poppy, who I love the name Poppy. I think it's my vote because he's got a baseball cap on, a nice goatee. And I'm not the biggest flannel, but he's got this really sexy flannel on, and that's all he's wearing with his legs spread open. And all you see is this huge ball sack and the dick, and you can see the tip of the head in there. He's also got a really sexy nose ring too, and a really good grin on his face, plus cute dimples. I just want to lick those balls and go for that ass and those huge thick thighs, and he gets my vote. In fact, I'm going to vote for him right now. Who do you vote for, Kodi, and why?
So first of all, I want to do this because I realized that last week, the person that I voted for, King Marcellus, he's on For the Love of DILFs. So you have to get into it. Okay.
What is that? Tell us.
For the Love of DILFs on Out TV.
Oh, right. Yes. Okay. Thank you. I need to watch it.
Get into it. Yes, please watch. But my vote this week is going to Angel Rivera and XXL Top London. Yes. Angel is sitting on the floor with his blue-green puppy dog eyes glistening in the sunlight. He's adorable and completely naked with a smattering of a goatee surrounding his succulent lips. I'm doing a whole romance novel thing. I don't know.
Here for it, Kodi.
He's got his hair slicked back and a look of longing on his face. Directly above is XXL's cock, and it definitely fits that description. It's thick.
Oh, sorry, that was my
veiny. It's thick and veiny, and you immediately know why Angel has that look on his face. Stay tuned next week for part 2 of Angels on the Floor.
I am here for it. Oh my goodness. I love it. Yummy, yummy, yummy. Bryce watching it says Timothy Champagne all day, every day. And Doug says, I started watching it yesterday. What did you start watching yesterday? What did he mean?
For the Love of DILFs.
For the Love of DILFs. Okay, good. And Kodi, I need your login so I can watch it too, sister.
I think I'm logged in already. Okay, I think I did it when I was there.
If not, I'm coming for your sister.
Yes, sister.
In the meantime, say hi to my sister. You can follow him on, he's got a brand new single called Talk About It. It's available wherever you get your music, and it's inspired by this particular show, Tags Podcast. So get that. Also, you can follow him on Instagram. He's a life coach at KMD Coaching, or his personal account at Mr. Maurice. Mr. Maurice. I love saying that. Follow me on the gram. I am _Steve V, or follow my Twitter at Tags Podcast, where you get a preview of my OnlyFans and Just for Fans. And in the meantime, continue having hot gay sex.